don't actually think that there's necessarily, a group of maniacal individuals, the Legion of Doom, plotting to like take away your health. But at the same time, I think that there are these large organizations that really couldn't care less about your health. They are prioritizing what's important for them. And regular people just get caught up in the mix. And what's challenging is that as a physician, I took a Hippocratic oath. I care about my patients. And so those are the people that are in front of me every single day that are seeking to improve their lives, to recover from injury. I have, fertility patients that are just dying to start their family. And I have patients that are suffering from hormonal imbalances that haven't felt right in years. I treat erectile dysfunction in men that have been struggling for years after prostate cancer treatment. I mean, these are people that are broken and hurting. You want to be able to help them. And so I feel that as a very strong personal calling that I have to be the advocate for that patient, both in the room whenever I'm treating them and taking care of them, but also when I'm talking to others and I'm, speaking out about these issues. Like, I want access to these medications because I care about the patients who benefit from them.
So they banned these peptides that we have here.
Correct.
And we're sat here 2 years after the ban, I believe, roughly 2 years after that ban.
Yeah.
And suddenly everybody's talking about peptides again.
Yes.
Why? What's going on?
So I think what we're seeing is the forbidden fruit effect, because this was banned and all of a sudden, oh, well, why'd they ban it? Well, they wouldn't have banned it if it weren't working, right? And we're also seeing the effect of TikTok and short form content being spread very rapidly, very virally. And that's been going on for 2 years now, combined with new emphasis from administration leadership and HHS and RFK. It's interesting because, I try to walk a very fine line between what I can prove versus what I suspect after being in this space for a long time. Mm-hmm. And, ultimately, I don't think it's accurate to characterize pharmaceutical companies or really any other entity as being, evil or bad. The truth is maybe a little bit more ominous. The truth is that they are these large machines that are designed to prioritize profit over everything.
Yeah.
And that's everything.
I think this is one of the really interesting observations I've had the higher I've gone in my career, is that oftentimes, we heard about the Illuminati. Like when I was growing up, I was like, oh, there's this Illuminati.
Yeah.
And you think of it as these like shadow hooded people that get together and decide evil things. But the further I've gone in business, the more I've realized that the Illuminati or these evil forces are actually just machines that were designed to optimize for profit.
Correct.
So like corporations are the Illuminati.
Yeah. And so
the most incredible impact that you've seen peptides create in a patient?
Oh my gosh, I have a best story for you. So one of the most frustrating things about my practice is treating infertility in young men that have significant metabolic dysfunction. These are young men that have a low sperm count, right? So they can't get pregnant because they just don't have the numbers to make it happen. And you're looking at them and they're morbidly obese, okay? They have high insulin resistance, all right? And their endocrine system has been damaged by that obesity. So they don't have low testosterone levels and their brain is not making enough of the signals to stimulate their testicles. Now, we have medications that we can use to help stimulate that, to make more of that signal stimulate the testicles, right? But really what is eating at them, what is causing this is not that chemical imbalance. That's the symptom. That's not the problem, okay? And treating symptoms doesn't really get you very far. And so I would have patients that I would take care of and we would never see a significant improvement in their numbers because losing weight is really, really hard, regardless of all of the education and resources I try to give them. But now we have peptides in the form of GLP-1 drugs like semaglutide and tirzepatide. And I just saw a patient last week who increased his sperm count 10 times over and is now in a normal range because he's lost 100 pounds due to using tirzepatide, exercising, and improving his diet. And he has totally changed his life.
And that started with a peptide?
It started with a peptide.
So we've got lots of peptides on the table in front of me.
Yes.
We will go into them individually, but just can you give me a high-level view of the types of areas in our health and life that these peptides can help with? So we've talked there about infertility.
Correct.
As a downstream consequence of the weight loss and fixing the metabolic health. What other parts of the body do peptides touch?
The best way to think about it is like this. So peptides are almost like an app on your phone. So imagine before we had apps. Like I'm old enough to remember trying to log on and do my banking online before we had apps. And gosh, it was so painful, right? Like there were ways to accomplish things, but they were very inconvenient in a roundabout way. And now all of a sudden we have these apps on our phone that can do just about anything except fold your laundry, right? There's some limits to it, but I mean, really the sky's the limit from an electronic standpoint. And really, that's what peptides are. So the thing is that we have peptides that can help you lose weight, like the GLP-1 drugs, in your brain that's responsible for melatonin and regulating your sleep-wake cycles. So the question isn't, what can peptides do? It's kind of, well, what can't they do? And if they can't do that yet, can we develop a peptide that can accomplish that task? And the answer is probably. And simultaneously, while there may be resistance from pharmaceutical industry in these peptides, the ones that we're most interested in right now, they have signed multi-billion-dollar deals with other pharmaceutical companies that are involved in peptide development aided by AI to try and fast-track their own peptide products.
Interesting.
And so we are going to see exponentially more of these products come down the pipeline from pharmaceutical companies in the form of commercial products.
And it's worth saying that there was some significant news today.
Correct.
What happened today, but also what's going on? And just for anyone that doesn't know, it's April the 15th.
Yes. So today we got a press release from the FDA saying that in July, they are going to consider 7 peptides for removing from category 2 back to category 1.
Legalizing them.
Legalizing them, okay? And some of the heavy hitters from that list include BPC 157.
Which is the one we talked about to do with like repair and injury.
Absolutely. Okay. And then we have the brother to that, which is TB500, this vial over here. This improves blood flow to an injured area. You could think of this as sending the soldiers, as sending the cells that are required for rebuilding that tissue matrix that was damaged by a tear or a cut. All right. On top of that, we're also getting something called KPV, may not have it here, but that is another peptide that has been linked to angiogenesis and tissue repair. We're also getting MOTS-C, and some patients will call it exercise in a vial. It improves your VO2 max and your exercise tolerance and by regulating the energy pathway, basically making more ATP, the energy that we all use to move. It makes more of that available. All right. We're also going to get DSIP, epithalon, and Cmax, which are all peptides that affect cognitive function. So improving thinking, like Cmax is a great option for that. And then DSIP and epithalon both have roles in regulating sleep and recovery.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty wild.
And I've got to say, so some of them are becoming legalized, but even the ones that aren't legal right now, a lot of people are taking them anyway.
Correct.
So my question is, how are people getting them? Listen, I don't want to promote illegal drugs here. This is not that kind of shit. No. But I just want to know what's going on.
No, this is important to talk about, right? Because we have to understand what's going on in the marketplace. The moment that these drugs were banned or these medications were banned in 2023, it was kind of like the United States experiment at banning alcohol. It didn't go very well, right?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, the mob came around and we started, seeing unregulated saloons and unregulated alcohol production, and it was contaminated with all the stuff that you didn't want. And so we're like,
people are traveling.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, it's not a good idea, right? And so what happened is we banned these and the gray market stepped in. And so these are companies that will sell peptides that have on the label for research use only, all right? And the idea is that takes them out of the FDA's jurisdiction because they're not selling it for people to inject into themselves, out of the FDA's hands. I'm just creating a vial of this magical juice that you can use for your rat, okay? That's the idea. We all know that's not what's really happening. But because there isn't any quality control, it's kind of like getting gas station sushi. Like, yeah, you can do it, but you don't really know if it's sushi and it may not end very well for you. Yeah. And so, again, not saying that there aren't some people who have gotten good results with research use only peptides, but again, it's not standardized, which is why I think moving this back into the 503A compounding world is the best thing for everyone.
Which is the legal framework.
Correct.
Okay, so how does one take a peptide?
That's a great question. So what's interesting is that, as we mentioned, peptides are just made up of building blocks of amino acids. And, if you were to go make yourself a protein shake, what is that going to look like from a Lego standpoint? It just looks like this, a handful of Legos in your hand.